actress. It blew my mind. And she doesn't look like a model. She has these
No.
striking blue eyes and this wide open face that you just want to look at. But she looks like us. She looks like a person. You want to.
She's not a Lolita vixen.
No, she's not a little Lolita vixen. She's not a little hottie. She's not someone with impossible beauty standards. When we see her really exposed in this movie, there's a scene where she's stands in front of the mirror totally naked and sort of examines her body, and it's a very normal girl body.
Yeah.
And there's something kind of amazingly revolutionary about just seeing a real normal looking body. I think Lena Dunham has been so wonderful at the way she's done that with girls. But I think it's just and she's skinny. She's still a skinny white girl, so we're not like pushing things on their head too much here.
Charlotte, Minnie's mother, is played by Kristen Wiig, and I want to play a clip. This is her and Minnie having about as much of a maternal heart-to-heart as Charlotte can muster.
When I was in high school, boys were all over me.
Like my dad?
Yeah. Yeah, your dad and I were crazy about each other. He wasn't messed up then. I mean, he was just a wannabe artist with the world attitude. And he rode a Triumph Blackbird. Have I ever told you that? It's fantastic. And my parents hated him. It was so hot.
That was Kristen Wiig in The Diary of a Teenage Girl. There are some comic aspects to her character, but mostly she is sad and sometimes disturbing, and in any case, very, very imperfectly human. Did you know when you took this to Kristen Wiig, whom you knew as a person, that, oh, she can do this? Sure, she's comic, but she can do this.
Yeah, I knew that she was starting to get really excited about doing more dramatic roles, and I think she's such a fantastic actress. She can toe that line between the comedy and the drama in such a smart way, and I felt like she would be excited to play something that nobody's ever seen her in a role like this. She looks like she just stepped out of the 70s in this movie.
Yes, and so not only is it well written and skillfully staged by my what do I know eyes and nicely shot and all that, but the Minnie character is a cartoonist, and there are a lot of these charming animated sequences, both mixed with live action and on their own, which work great. But again, thinking about you and being in your position like that, doesn't that just raise the degree of difficulty even more crazily?
Apparently, if I had gone to film school, they would have told me all of these things about the things you should never do in your first film. You should never do a period piece, and you should never do a movie with a ton of locations, and you should never add multimedia.
Yeah.
And I did all of those things because nobody told me that, because I didn't go to film school.
A little kid having sex with an adult.
Right. Add that into the mix. Yeah, I mean, the thing I did best, I would say, out of this whole movie was find incredible people to work with. My animator, who I worked with, Sara Gunnarsdottir, who lives here in New York and is an Icelandic animator.
So nothing but foreigners, an Icelandic animator, a Swedish and British actor.
We had Belgian producers and Belgian editors. It was very international.
For this very American
For this totally American movie.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And still more amazingly, in addition to making this movie your first one, and it's terrific, you just had your first kid.
I did.
5 minutes ago, 8 months ago.
It's true. I got pregnant right after we wrapped, and I was basically pregnant the whole time I was editing the movie, and then he was 5.5 weeks when we went to Sundance with the film. Crazy timing.
And what does not kill you makes you stronger. Did you manage through that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew it was going to be like that the whole time I was pregnant, or I was hoping that was the best case scenario, was that my movie would get into Sundance and I would have to deal with how hard that was going to be.
Yeah.
And then we went to Berlin, to the Berlin Film Festival, when he was 8 weeks old. So it was crazy. I won't say it was easy, but this is female filmmaking. I was breastfeeding at my after party at Sundance and just going like, this is what it looks like. You know?
Yeah.
This is it.
So, age 23 or whenever you got out of school and started being an actor, to age 30 when you were just being an actor. What did you think, oh, my future is I'm going to be an actor and I'll get parts here and there and I'll have whatever kind of career? Or did you have this giant brass ring dream that now this is the beginning of the fulfillment of?
I think I was always incredibly ambitious. Yeah, I always imagined that I would try harder and harder to do more and more creative things and to be creatively fulfilled. And I think the dream shifted as I recognized where the creative fulfillment was coming from, acting and the parts I was getting became less and less fulfilling. It started to feel repetitive. It started to feel like I wasn't as part of the creative process as I wanted to be as an actor. At times I was, sometimes I was, and it was great when I was.
Because of the people you were working with?
Yeah, or because of the material. But, you know, sometimes I'd work on a new play that really excited me, and I'd be working with the playwright, and I would feel really a part of the creative process. And other times I would feel like a cog in the wheel, and it wasn't pushing me creatively. Whereas when you start acting, you think of that as the most creative role you could possibly be in.
Yeah.
So I guess the goal line just sort of shifted, but I always was very ambitious.
Well, keep running down that field, to extend this metaphor badly. But
Thank you.
this is a really good movie, and congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Marielle Heller's The Diary of a Teenage Girl is in theaters now.
Wrap your troubles in dreams, send them all away, put them in a bottle and across the seas they stay.
More than a year ago, before it was even finished, friends of mine in the know were telling me I had to see this amazing new piece of theater, a hip-hop musical about Alexander Hamilton. Really? I thought, that sounds like a joke. As even its creator and star-to-be, Lin-Manuel Miranda, acknowledged way back in 2009 before performing a bit of the work in progress for the Obamas at the White House.
I'm actually working on a hip-hop album. It's a concept album about the life of someone I think embodies hip-hop, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. You laugh, but it's true. How does a bastard orphan son of a whore and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by Providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be...
Then 6 months ago, I saw the finished show off Broadway and understood the fuss and hype, which only grew bigger and bigger. And last week, Hamilton opened on Broadway, where it is already sold out through the end of the year, maybe longer. So just how does a musical about the first Secretary of the Treasury become so beloved by everybody and the hottest ticket on Broadway? I've asked David Cote, the theater editor for Time Out New York, to come over and help me try to figure it out. David, welcome to Studio 360.
Thanks, Kurt.
What's the short answer for why it's so very good?
Because it creates some really unusual cognitive dissonance in the viewer in a good way. You're watching the events of the 18th century about the founding fathers, the Constitutional Congress, the revolution. You're watching it through the lens of 21st century hip-hop music and attitudes, acted by a cast of people of color, not just standard white people portraying these historic figures.
Yeah, I liked it very, very much as well. I was, however, surprised when I went to see it at how relatively middle of the road musically and narratively it was. And then all these fellow old white people in the audience around me enjoying it so much because they were enjoying a hip-hop musical which they thought they might hate, and therefore feeling better about themselves. That's part of it, right?
Well, that's definitely, people who say, I love this musical and I don't even like hip-hop, that does need to be impacted a little bit politically, perhaps. I mean, when Rupert Murdoch and David Brooks like your show, you're either doing something right or you're doing something wrong, perhaps.
And everybody on the left, and Barack Obama and Dick Cheney.
Yeah, well, what are the politics of Hamilton? I mean, it's something you can project upon, I think. A very sort of conservative commentator can come in and say, they're refreshing the iconography of the colonial era for a new generation. They're making maybe young kids of color care about Jefferson and Washington and all that. Or you can say that they are creating an open source metaphor about how people of color and people whose voices have been marginalized over the years have to take back American history, perhaps.
I mean, once anything is successful, a presidential candidate, a musical, then we look back, oh, this was inevitable. But I'm still astounded, which is why you're here and we're trying to figure it out.
Well, you were saying earlier that it sounded like a joke, like
yeah.
Hip-hop telling of Alexander. Well, I think that a lot of great musicals or successful musicals, they start out as terrible ideas on paper, like, oh, here's a baker who kills his customers and turns them into meat pies.
Yes, it worked out nicely.
Singing and dancing cats, like, what the?
Yeah. So it's a terrible idea on paper, therefore it's all execution dependent. So, what is it about the book and the music that is so exceptionally good?
Well, I would say it's so exceptionally witty and dense. Usually you go to see a new Broadway musical and the lyrics are really spoon-fed to the audience and they're very rhymey and very easy to digest, and the music is often derivative pop or show tunes. Here you have a really fresh sound.
I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties of sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow.
The language is incredibly dense. I mean, only in like a Shakespearean history play would you find that level of information density.
That's a very good point, because often, especially with Broadway musicals, it's the opposite of dense, and you kind of, okay, this is the premise, I get it, and then it's 2 hours of fulfilling that premise that you got in the first 15 minutes.
Right, Hamilton trusts that its audience can assimilate large amounts of information coming at you very quickly.
Also, it seems to me another, not part of the, I don't think, marketing shrewdness of Hamilton, but one of the things that it will enjoy commercially is that often it's a commercial challenge when the star who first stars in something leaves, as the creator and star Lin-Manuel Miranda inevitably will. In this case, it seems like it's a huge opportunity, because now you can bring in actual famous people to play Alexander Hamilton, and it can run until for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. I mean, his star is rising. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's such a prodigiously talented guy. Movies, TV, who knows what's in his future? But he can leave the show in a year.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman is Hamilton.
A little too pale.
Yeah.
But no, you could have a real hip hop artist step into that role.
David Cody, it has been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
David Cody is the theater critic and editor for Time Out New York. Coming up,
I'm self-aware enough to know that the David Foster Wallace script doesn't come across on the desk, and then somebody says, somebody get Jason Segel on the phone immediately.
Jason Segel talks about his new movie that's changing the way everybody thinks of him. That's just ahead in Studio 360 from PRI and WNYC. Stay with us.
You can't handle the truth. Can the U.S. Marine Corps handle what it means to truly integrate men and women in combat?
I was told I was too aggressive, I was too blunt, I was too direct. My counterparts would not be told those things.
One woman's story of getting tough and losing her command. Next time on The Takeaway, weekday mornings at 9 on AM 820 and at 3 on 93.9 FM WNYC.
WNYC is supported by Capital One Commercial Bank, a team of professionals providing customized commercial banking solutions to meet clients' needs. More information available at CapitalOne.com/commercial. Fox Searchlight Pictures presenting Mistress America, a modern screwball comedy about female friendship from director Noah Baumbach and starring Greta Gerwig and Lola Kirk, now in select theaters.
Studio 360 is supported by LegalZoom, for over 10 years working to help Americans navigate the legal system with assistance on business formations, wills and trusts, trademark registration, and patents. Legal help is at LegalZoom.com. And by TIAA-CREF, a financial services company helping to create financial outcomes that matter. Learn more at TIAA.org.
This is Studio 360, and I'm Kurt Anderson. Jason Segel brings a very authentic-seeming sweetness to almost every part he plays. Like his first big role at 19 as a lovesick drummer on the very good, very brief TV show Freaks and Geeks.
Hey, you guys want to rehearse today?
Hell yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Was this your guys' rock band?
Yeah.
And his very funny performance as a lovesick composer in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Time to start the music. Oh, gonna light the light. Yeah, yeah, gonna get things started on the Muppet Show tonight.
In real life, he is a successful screenwriter as well. He went even deeper into Muppet Land by writing an entire Muppet movie. But despite all his actual smarts, Jason Segel had certainly never been cast as a major intellectual figure. So when word got out a year and a half ago that he was going to play the novelist David Foster Wallace, author of Infinite Jest, one of the great writers of his generation, a genius even more celebrated after his suicide, the instant reaction was, what? Could this famously goofy, charming comedy star Segel possibly do justice to the infamously gloomy, antisocial, tragic Wallace? Well, the answer is yes, absolutely. The end of the tour is out, and Segel's performance is nuanced and touching and kind of amazing.
Technology is just going to get better and better, and it's going to get easier and easier and more convenient and more pleasurable to sit alone with images on a screen given to us by people who do not love us but want our money. And that's fine in low doses. But if it's the basic main staple of your diet, you're going to die. Well, come on. In a very meaningful way, you're going to die.
Jason Segel, welcome to Studio 360.
Thank you.
I discovered we were both the sons of lawyers and ministers in the Universal Life Church.
Oh, yes.
So, secret handshake.
Totally.
And I'm sort of tall, but you're really tall.
I'm 6'4".
Yeah. You got 2 inches on me.
I've been this height since I was 12.
Jesus.
Yeah, which it's not a pleasant time to be different in any way. Literally, kids used to stand around me in a circle, and one by one they would jump on my back, and the rest of them would chant, "Ride the oaf, ride the oaf."
Nice.
And I think that's how you become funny.
Or how you become traumatized and bitter forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's right on the line there. You have a choice. I went with funny. But yeah, I think, it's interesting. Being big like this really helped with the movie. Wallace was a big guy, too.
Yes.
And there's something you can do that I noticed in myself that I really related to, where you do this hunch to kind of bring yourself down to other people's level. Yeah, and almost like in subjugation, like you make yourself small physically.
Yeah. Did the character have any kinship in your mind to the characters you've played before?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the important thing, especially when you're going in to play David Foster Wallace, is there's a tendency to sort of deify your idols and make them something other than you. And when I read my favorite parts of David Foster Wallace, it's because I feel like, oh, this is a guy who loves movies just like me. Listen to him write about David Lynch. Or here's a guy who sees the absurdity of a cruise ship vacation.
Yes.
Those things are
Which was a piece of journalism.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was originally called Shipping Out. It was reprinted as a supposedly fun thing I'll never do again.
Yeah.
And it's one of the funniest things I've ever read.
Yeah. There is a line in the movie, in fact, in which you, as David Foster Wallace, says, "Yeah, it's true, I treasure my regular guyness."
Yeah, that's right.
When I saw the movie and then was reading about you, I was then struck by the fact that you've said the thing of your Hollywood circle of these Judd Apatow pals are that you're normal dudes.
Oh.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there are a bunch of different types of acting, and I think that one of the types of acting is being the everyman and sort of offering a surrogate experience to the viewer of saying, hey, for the next hour and a half, I'm you.
Yes.
In this extreme scenario.
Yes.
I think that's the type of comedy
Which
we do.
is you've done.
That's what I've been good at, and I think, interestingly enough, I think that is why people really respond to David Foster Wallace's writing.